Okay, hobby deep dive. So we've gotten some good
All right.
response to our hobby deep dive segment. We thought we'd bring it back for another edition. A day or so ago, did another Instagram poll, put up 4 current NHL veterans. Wanted to let you guys choose the player that we were deep dive this week. Our list of 4 candidates that we presented in our poll were Pasta, David Pasternak, Nikita Kucherov, Artemi Panarin, and Cale Makar. So we got the poll results here. Are you surprised by the fact that Makar kind of won in a landslide here with 39% of the vote?
No. Knowing what we know about Hobby Love and who gets it, it's Makar out of all these guys.
Your guy, Kucherov, Troy, was at least second with 23% of the vote. Then Pasta, David Pasternak, 21%. And then Artemi Panarin came in fourth at 17%.
Yeah, Kucherov, I can see. It's absolutely amazing the season he's having.
Oh, it's incredible.
85 points in 49 games. I don't know if that leads the NHL in points, but
I think him and McKinnon are like neck and neck.
McKinnon, yeah.
Depending on the day, it sort of alternates between the two. And Nathan McKinnon was our hobby deep dive last week. And so with Cale Makar this week, it's back-to-back Colorado Avalanche players that the people have chosen.
The people have spoken
for hobby deep dive. So again, Cale Makar is this week's hobby deep dive. Right, Cale Douglas Makar. Cale Dougie is a defenseman for your Colorado Avalanche. He's 25 years old, born in 1998, when we were probably both in college, which is kind of mortifying to think about. Cale is a native of one of our most popular cities for our show. Let's make it all about us, of course. Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Grew up playing in various youth hockey associations around the Calgary area. Was selected 16th overall by the Medicine Hat Tigers in the 2013 WHL Bantam Draft, but decided to forego the WHL to retain his amateur status and have the ability to play collegiate hockey in the United States.
That's right, so baby. College hockey, U.S. college hockey, getting some love.
And I guess I hadn't. It makes sense. I hadn't maybe made that connection that if basically you play in the CHL, you're considered a professional.
Yeah.
I just heard the other day though that they're considering changing that to give players flexibility, like when they're 15 and 16 years old, to play in the CHL and then go to the US to play collegiate hockey, so that it because I think the fear is that the CHL is going to really suffer.
Yeah,
because the American college games become real popular.
It's definitely, American college hockey, especially Division I college hockey, is becoming it's growing big, and a lot of NHL players are now coming from college hockey rinks. And there's a lot of talk too about NCAA Division I hockey expanding. There's just rumblings about the SEC, because again, I've talked about this before. All these colleges have hockey teams. They just play in
club teams, right?
Yeah, club teams. They play in the AHCA. Some of these teams get 5,000 to 8,000 fans a game, and they're just wild party atmospheres. Now, they got to balance, when do you start diluting the product, because you bring in too many teams, and it's a whole bunch of stuff. And who knows if it'll ever happen, if they'll ever go that route. But it's interesting. And going back to the whole CHL pro thing, that I'm guessing because do they get paid in the CHL? Do they get like a stipend? I know they have some go to billet families.
It's bad. It's like,
it's not you're not going to live on it. And I'm curious. So the NCAA is kind of a disaster. It's if you read about all the lawsuits and then what they did with the NIL, and it would be interesting to see how that works if they allowed CHL players to keep their amateur status to come to college hockey. But then, I guess, you've had before where 25-year-olds, if you haven't used your eligibility, you can play college hockey if you wanted to in the NCAA. So it'll be interesting. Obviously, 25, I think you're too old for the CHL. But
how do you call it amateur status though when you have college football quarterbacks making $12 million a year?
Yeah,
on NIL.
Yeah, that's why I was trying to say the whole thing's changed now with the NIL and how that works. And I know they came out with a policy, but I'm sure it's a disaster. And who know, I haven't tried. I can't follow it enough. I was worried about the NIL for high school because I'm sure the Minnesota State High School League put out a policy on it, but we haven't had any stuff with it. But I'm sure it's coming at some point.
So he spurred is it spurred or spurned?
Spurred, I think. Spurn sounds like bad.
Yeah, okay. He spurred the WHL and instead played in 2014-15 for the Calgary Flames midget AAA team, which is in the Alberta Midget Hockey League, producing 23 points in 34 games played. You got a comment on
spurned means to reject or treat with scorn or contempt.
Oh, I don't think he was mad about it.
There you go.
Okay. Then the following 2 seasons, Troy suited up for the Brooks Bandits.
There he is.
With the Alberta Junior Hockey League. This picture is he's looking at the guy with the mustache, like he just like the guy said boobs, and he's like 9 and thinks it's like the funniest thing he's ever heard in his life. I mean, is that not the greatest picture ever?
It's a great picture.
This is worth watching this on YouTube just for that. So while he was at the Bandits, though, Troy, he had 55 points in 54 games in 2015 and 16, and then 75 points in 54 games in 2016 17. That season, he had 24 goals, too. So while he was playing for the Bandits, I think a UMass assistant coach was recruiting in the Calgary area and convinced Makar to come for a campus visit where he later committed. The interesting thing about that is that, well, college hockey wasn't even a few years ago quite what it is today. But UMass is not a hockey hotbed in the least. I think they won like 5 games the year before he came, and their coach got fired. So I don't think like when he was like super young that he was a crazy recruit or had Connor Bedard hype by any stretch of that. And he was a little more of a late bloomer, but by the time that he was ready to start at college, most people thought he was going to bail. That I think his stature in the game had elevated to the point where he had a lot more options, but he stuck with his commitment. Ended up going to I think he was even drafted before he got there as like the number 4 overall pick in the draft, which might have been the highest draft choice in UMass history. Kind of went through, helped them rebuild their program, and had a decent first season as a freshman, producing 21 points in 34 games. I think after his freshman season, the Avalanche had maybe preferred that he turn pro and either probably go to the AHL or maybe start, the option is either to start with the team or play in the AHL. I think he thought he needed another year in college. It was probably a good idea because he had an awesome sophomore season where he had 16 goals, 33 assists, 49 points, 41 games played, helped lead the UMass Minutemen to their first ever national championship game, was a plus 33, Troy, and plus minus, which was second in the nation, was named Hockey East Player of the Year, first team all conference, was the first defenseman in 20 years to lead Hockey East in scoring, and then was named the, of course, 2019 recipient of the Hobie Baker Award, which was given to college's hockey's most outstanding player. So not a pretty good choice, right? If you're we're being pressured maybe to turn pro after freshman season. And then again, he made the decision to go back for one more year of college. After, though, that sophomore season in April of 2019, Cale Makar signed a 3-year NHL entry-level contract with the Avalanche, made his NHL debut later that day during Game 3 of the Avalanche's first-round series against his hometown Calgary Flames. Well, that's kind of incredible, huh? You grew up in Calgary. You make your NHL debut in the playoffs against your hometown team. He ended up scoring a goal in the Avalanche's 6-2 victory over the Flames, and in that process became the first NHL defenseman to score a playoff goal in his NHL debut.
Awesome.
This kid has just lived a charmed life.
with a
there's
lot
been
of
like
hard work,
lots of
hopefully.
a lot of hard work, and I'm not saying he hasn't earned it, but a lot of really, really great players like never like sniff
Yeah.
a trophy or anything like that, and he just like uh, you know he trips and he gets a trophy for something. So Makar then would start the next season, 2019-20, with the Avalanche, produced 12 goals, 38 assists for 50 points in 57 games played, which was good enough to win the Calder Memorial Trophy. So let's give him another trophy.
Yep, another trophy.
The next season was the 2020-21. It was a shortened season due to COVID. That year, Makar finished second in the Norris voting. So somebody screwed up and failed to give him another trophy. I don't know how he dealt with it. He went a whole year without winning a major award. But he sure made up for it, though, Troy, because 2021-22 really became the year of Makar. Prior to the season, he signed a 6-year, $54 million contract extension, so he became filthy rich. Then he followed that up by scoring 28 goals, adding 58 assists for 86 points in 77 games played, won the Norris Trophy as the NHL's top defenseman, finished 8th in voting for the Hart Memorial Trophy, then won the Stanley Cup, of course, as the Avalanche defeated Tampa Bay, and won the Conn Smythe Trophy as well. So in the span of a few years, he like wins like the Hobie Baker, the
Not bad.
Calder, the Norris, the Stanley Cup, and the Conn Smythe.
Congrats, Cale Makar.
Yeah, you've won everything. Fast forwarding to today, Makar is currently in his fifth NHL season. He has 12 goals, 46 assists for 58 points in 44 games played. Could very well win his second Norris Trophy this year. It's kind of him and it seems like Quinn Hughes are neck and neck there.
Brock Faber.
Oh, Brock Faber.
I'm just throwing it in there.
No, love that.
Mhm.
In his career now, Troy, he's played in 282 games. He's scored 77 goals, added 227 assists for 304 points. So it's an average of 0.27 goals per game and 1.08 points per game. He currently sits third all time in points per game by an NHL defenseman. Bobby Orr averaged an insane 1.39 points per game. Paul Coffey averaged 1.09 points per game. So he's 1/100th of a point per game ahead of Cale Makar. So basically they're neck and neck for second all time. Now, also, I think Makar's 0.27 goals per game, he only has 77 goals. If he maintains that average, because I think there's when they look at all time, there's like a minimum of 100 goals. So he hasn't met that minimum threshold yet, but it would be like third or fourth all time as well, as far as goals per game by an NHL defenseman. Adding everything together, Troy, I think, of course, it's very safe to say he has the makings to be an all-time great at the defensive position. Any arguments there?
No arguments from me.
Now let's look at the hobby market a little bit. Well, he's already a hobby star. That I think is definite. He's kind of at the very top of that second tier.
Yep.
He's not quite yet Connor McDavid or Austin Matthews, but he might be the next guy down, right? If you look at like our annual tally of most cards sold by a player, Makar finished last year, the calendar year 2023. He sold, or not he sold, but 7,394 of his cards sold, which was 17th in our rankings. The only defensive player with more cards sold last year was Bobby Orr, who finished 12th in our rankings with 8,708 cards sold. So again, that supports, I think, the fact that he is a hobby star. Makar is a 2019 Young Guns. His PSA 10 has a pop of 2,438, 64% gem rate. Last sold for 465 US on January 11th. Down about 1% in the past month. Down about 27% in the past year. All-time high trade was 1,023 US dollars in June 2022, basically right after the Avs won the Stanley Cup, so it kind of makes sense there. Also found the top 5 highest selling Cale Makar cards of all time. So we'll do a little quick countdown here. Number 5, highest selling card is a 2019-20 The Cup RPA at a 99, PSA 9 that sold for $13,600 in June of 2022. Again, right after they won the Cup. So it makes a lot of sense. We'll see a lot of records from that time frame. What's interesting though, and unlike a lot of other players, is there's no other Cup RPAs in the top 5.
Is this a true rookie?
I think well, it's card number 62, right? I don't know. We have to call Upper Deck. Maybe Upper Deck needs a true rookie hotline
Yeah.
where you can just call and say, ask whatever card you have. Is it a true rookie?
Yeah, card number 62. I like it. I almost think we have to like start doing this now every time we bring up a rookie card. And remember,
now the next one, Troy, gets very spicy and interesting. Number 4 is 2019-20 UD Clear Cut.
There you go.
UD Canvas Signatures Red Ink Auto out of 8, PSA 10 Auto 10, sold for $14,500 in April 2022. Is this a true rookie? I would say no. I mean, it's like none of the criteria we've talked about.
Yep.
$14,500. A lot of money.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Knowing what we know about cards now, that feels like an overspend.
Yes.
Yeah. Number 3, 2019-20 Upper Deck Young Guns High Gloss out of 10, PSA 10, sold for $15,000 even in August of 2021. Great. Going back to if you're watching on YouTube, somebody spent $15,000
on a shadow.
And a shadow puppet. Do you get the shadow puppet with the card? Does that come with it?
I'll just put my hand and then.
But now, would this meet the definition of a true rookie? It is part of the base set.
Yeah,
of course.
But it's a parallel, right?
But it's a parallel.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So what do you think? Oh, here's a question: which one's going to go up more in percentage terms, the base Young Guns or this one?
Oh, I think this one, because the base, as the pop continues to grow, the base Young Guns is going to go down.
I love this card. I think
it's a very, very cool looking card, and the badging of the high gloss looks great on it too. I wouldn't feel like, even if I had spent $15,000 in 2021, I wouldn't. There's a lot of cards that you could have bought for $15,000 in 2021 and be mortified right now. But I would still feel okay about that purchase over the long term for this card. The number 2 all-time most money spent on the Cale Makar is a 2019-20 Ultimate Collection. Cale Makar and Nathan McKinnon rookie tandem shields out of 2, PSA Authentic. Sold for $16,800 US in June of 2022. Does this card do anything for you?
Boy, it should even be included because it has Nathan McKinnon on it too.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a whole discussion on that next, I guess, next show. Does this count? Or I think someone a long time ago said one of the questions we should look at is what card has been hurt the most by having like a superstar paired with just some random guy that never made it. But no, this card, I mean, it's cool. I would never spend this type of money on it.
Yeah. Now the number 1 card, the most spent ever for a Cale Makar card, is a 2019-20 Exquisite Collection Rookie Auto Shield 101 BGS 7.5 with a 9 auto grade, sold for $22,800 US in April of 2022. I think I don't know if it's worth that right now, but I guess that's another purchase. From just an investment standpoint, I wouldn't feel horrible about.
No, and I'm on record that I don't really care for exquisite cards. This one looks great. I would definitely like this one.
It's weird that I don't understand how autos get graded, because I've seen 10s that have the same amount of
like the streaky or the pen came up on there a little bit, and then he's like into the looks like
maybe that's
the shield.
Maybe that's it. But how do you control what he does when he signs a card? So I don't know. I wouldn't be turned away from that auto, even though it's an auto grade 9.
I'll agree.
Do you have any general thoughts on the Cale Makar hobby market?
No, it was interesting to watch. You know, he kind of was one of the guys that blew up, and then we had this run where he had a slow start, and stuff started trending down again. But now he's back right into his thing. Now he's probably never going to be like a 600 goal scorer or 500 goal scorer, but
No.
he's going to be a fantastic defenseman for a long time and probably have lots of points. So it'll be interesting to see where he actually trends out. But yeah, he's definitely in that superstar category. And he's basically him and McKinnon are the guys in Colorado that the hobby. Well, McKinnon maybe, I don't know. Sometimes McKinnon prices amaze me, but Makar for sure I think has some good hobby level.
He's got 58 points and 44 games played. It's crazy.
Yep.
That's pretty awesome. All right, that is our Cale Makar hobby deep dive.